I never meant to fall for my brother's best friend, but loving him became the bravest thing I ever did. They say the heart wants what it wants. But what happens when what your heart wants is completely, undeniably forbidden? When the person who makes your pulse race and your breath stop is the one person you should never, ever fall for. This is the story of how I fell in love with my brother's best friend, and how he fell just as deeply for me. The summer I turned 24, I moved back home to Seattle after 3 years of chasing dreams in New York City. My graphic design career hadn't taken off the way I had imagined, and my savings account was begging for mercy. So there I was, dragging my overstuffed suitcases through the front door of my childhood home, trying not to feel like I was moving backward in life. My name is Adrian Chun, and if you had told me that coming home would lead to the most intense, beautiful, and complicated love story of my life, I would have laughed in your face. My older brother Marcus still lived at home too, but for different reasons. He had landed a great job at a tech startup downtown and was saving to buy his own place. At 27, he had his life together in ways I was still figuring out. We had always been close despite our differences. He was the outgoing athlete. I was the quiet creative. He played basketball every weekend. I spent Saturday mornings sketching in coffee shops. Adrian, get down here, lazy ass. Marcus's voice boomed up the stairs on my third day back. I rolled my eyes, setting down the box of art supplies I'd been unpacking. It's 9 a.m. on a Saturday, Marcus. Some of us appreciate sleep. Yeah, well, some of us have friends coming over for breakfast and Mom wants you to be social. Remember social? That thing you used to do before you became a hermit in New York. I trudged downstairs in my worn college hoodie and sweatpants, my black hair still messy from sleep. The smell of Mom's famous banana pancakes filled the air, making my stomach growl despite my irritation at being summoned. That's when I saw him. Ethan Rodriguez stood in our kitchen like he'd always belonged there, laughing at something Mom said, his entire face lit with genuine warmth. He had always been handsome, but 3 years had transformed him from cute to absolutely devastating. His dark hair was styled back, revealing sharp cheekbones and a jawline that could cut glass. He had filled out too, his shoulders broader, his frame stronger beneath a simple white t-shirt that fit him far too well. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. Deep brown, almost black, with flecks of amber catching the morning light. And they were locked on me. Adrian. His voice had deepened, taken on a richer tone that seemed to vibrate straight through my chest. Damn, you're back. Before I could process what was happening, he crossed the kitchen in 3 long strides and pulled me into a hug. He smelled like cedar and something citrusy, maybe bergamot. The embrace lasted a second longer than friendly, his hand warm at the small of my back. Hey, Ethan, I managed, my voice embarrassingly breathless as we pulled apart. You look different, he said with a grin. That same lopsided smile I remembered from our teenage years, but now it did dangerous things to my balance. 3 years of adulting will do that. You look good too. New York suited you. Marcus clapped Ethan on the back, completely unaware of the way my heart was trying to escape my ribcage. Ethan's basically family now. He's here every weekend. Mom's adopted him. Someone has to make sure this one eats vegetables, Mom said, ruffling Marcus's hair as she set down a plate of pancakes.
Ethan, sweetheart, sit.
Adrian, stop hovering like a ghost. Breakfast was both wonderful and torturous. Ethan sat directly across from me, and I became painfully aware of every movement, every glance, every accidental brush of his knee against mine beneath the table. He told us about becoming an architect at a prestigious downtown firm, about designing a new community center in the International District. His face lit up as he spoke. It's about more than buildings, he said. It's about creating places where people feel safe, where they belong, especially for communities that get pushed aside. Architecture should be about home, identity, and connection. I leaned forward without realizing it. That's beautiful. The idea behind it, people forget that all design is about human experience. His eyes met mine, and something unmistakable passed between us. Recognition, understanding, a quiet spark that made the rest of the room disappear. Exactly, he said softly. I knew you'd understand. Marcus, oblivious as ever, launched into a story about work, and the moment faded. But for the rest of the meal, I caught Ethan glancing at me, and every time our eyes met, my chest tightened. After breakfast, the two of them went outside to shoot hoops. I claimed I needed to keep unpacking, but the truth was I needed space to breathe. I watched them through my bedroom window as they played, Ethan's t-shirt lifting to reveal a strip of toned skin. The feelings I'd buried years ago surged back, fresh and dangerous. I forced myself away from the window and back to my desk. He's your brother's best friend. He's straight. And even if he wasn't, he's off limits. My phone buzzed. Lily, how's the homecoming? Seattle missed you. Me complicated. I think I'm in trouble.
Lily, spill.
Me worse. My brother's best friend. Lily. The drama increases. Is he gay? Single? Me. I have no idea, and I'm not finding out. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Lily, or it's the universe giving you a gift. When are you going to stop playing it safe, Adrian? Her words lingered longer than I wanted to admit. A knock at my door made me jump. Come in, I called, expecting Marcus. It was Ethan. He stood in my doorway, and suddenly my childhood bedroom felt impossibly small. His eyes drifted over my sketches, the art pinned to my walls, the organized chaos of my creative space. Marcus ran to the store, he said. Your mom said you were unpacking. I wanted to talk without an audience. My throat went dry. Yeah, sure. Sorry about the mess. This isn't a mess, he said softly, stepping closer to my desk. He examined my drawings with careful hands. You've gotten so much better. This is professional level work. Why'd you really leave New York? The question caught me off guard. I sat on the edge of my bed. After a moment, he sat beside me, leaving a respectful space between us, close enough that I could feel his warmth. It didn't work out the way I hoped, I admitted. Too much competition. I burned through my savings trying to survive. Eventually, I had to admit I needed to come home. That's not failure, he said firmly. That's courage. Most people never even try. I searched his face and found nothing but sincerity. When did you get so wise? He laughed softly. I'm not wise. I've just learned that life doesn't follow plans. And sometimes the detours are everything. There was a pause. Then his voice shifted. I came out 2 years ago. The weight of his words settled between us. My heart thundered. Marcus doesn't know? He shook his head. I was afraid to change what we had. He'd support you, I said immediately. He supported me. Ethan studied my face, hope flickering in his eyes. Then he looked straight at me. I'm telling you because when you walked into the kitchen that morning, everything I'd buried came back. My breath caught. I've had feelings for you since we were teenagers, he continued quietly. Real ones. I tried to ignore them, tried to move on, but I couldn't. My world tilted. I'm not asking you for anything, he said. I just needed to be honest. He stood to leave. Wait, I said. We locked eyes. I need time, I whispered. You just changed everything. He nodded once. I understand. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, Lily's words repeating in my mind. Nothing about Ethan Rodriguez felt safe. He felt like free fall, like risk, like everything I'd ever been too afraid to reach for. And for the first time, I didn't want to be afraid anymore. The week that followed was thick with tension. We danced around each other, charged with everything unspoken. Then, on Friday night, the doorbell rang. Ethan stood on the porch, rain-soaked and trembling. I can't pretend anymore, he said. Tell me right now if you want me to leave you alone. And I will. I'll find a way to be okay with just being your brother's friend. But if there's even the smallest chance you feel even a fraction of what I feel, I need to know. Rain dripped from his hair, his shirt clinging to his chest, and he looked completely undone. Desperate, vulnerable, and so beautiful it almost hurt to look at him. I should have stopped. I should have thought it through, weighed the risks, measured the consequences, chosen logic. Instead, I grabbed his shirt, pulled him inside, and slammed the door behind us. "I feel it," I said, my voice shaking. "God, Ethan, I feel it so much it terrifies me." His eyes widened as hope rushed across his face. "Yeah," I breathed. "I've tried not to. I've told myself every reason this is a terrible idea. But the truth is, I haven't stopped thinking about you since that first morning. Since you hugged me in the kitchen. Since you sat in my room and told me the truth. Since you were brave enough to say how you felt." "Adrian," he whispered, my name like a prayer on his lips. We stood inches apart, the air between us charged with years of wanting and weeks of unbearable tension. His hand rose, cupping my face, his thumb brushing my cheek with devastating tenderness. "Tell me I can kiss you," he said hoarsely. "You can," I whispered. "Please, kiss me." And then his mouth was on mine. The kiss began softly, hesitant, as if we were both afraid of breaking something fragile. His lips were warm, mint-fresh, and when he exhaled into my mouth, the sensation traveled straight down my spine. My hands slid into his wet hair, tugging him closer. The softness didn't last. Years of longing, weeks of restraint. Every stolen glance and unspoken word exploded at once. The kiss deepened, turned hungry and urgent. His hands slid down my back, pulling me flush against him, and I gasped at the solid heat of his body pressed to mine. "Adrian," he groaned against my lips, wrecked. "I've wanted this for so long." I kissed him harder in answer, backing him toward the couch. We fell onto it together in a tangle of limbs and breathless need. His hands slipped beneath my shirt, tracing bare skin, and I shivered. "Is this okay?" he asked, pulling back just enough to search my eyes, his pupils blown wide. "More than okay," I said, pulling him back into another kiss. We kissed like teenagers, clumsy, frantic, amazed, discovering each other with wonder and urgency. He kissed my neck, found the sensitive spot behind my ear that made me gasp and arch toward him. I traced the muscles of his back, mapped his chest, learned what made him shudder. "You're so beautiful," he murmured. "In high school, I used to watch you sketch. You'd get this look like nothing else existed. I used to wish that focus was on me. You have it now," I whispered, lifting his face for another kiss. "All of it. All of me." His response stole my breath. We shifted until I was straddling him, his hands firm on my hips even through layers of fabric, the friction overwhelming. "We should slow down," he said even as his grip tightened. "I don't want to rush this." "I don't either," I admitted, resting my forehead against his. We were both breathing hard. "But I don't want you to stop. You're killing me," he groaned. "Good," I said, smiling. "Then stay tonight. Not for that, just to be together, to talk, to figure us out." The tenderness in his eyes made my heart stutter. "I'd like that. I'd like that a lot." We spent hours curled together on the couch, talking about everything and nothing. He told me about coming out to his family, their initial confusion, his journey toward acceptance, the relationships that never worked because he was always comparing them to the idea of us. I told him about New York, about being lonely in a city of millions, about running from more than just Seattle. "I think I was scared," I confessed. "Scared of wanting something I couldn't have. Scared of being seen too clearly." "You don't have to hide with me," he said, threading his fingers through mine. "I see you, Adrian. I always have. And I'm not going anywhere." Around midnight, Marcus's car pulled into the driveway. We sprang apart like guilty teenagers, Ethan retreating to the opposite end of the couch. Marcus stumbled in, clearly tipsy, and grinned when he saw us. "Didn't know you were still here, man. You two hanging out? Love that my favorite people get along." He was too drunk to notice anything else. "I should head out," Ethan said calmly. "Crash here," Marcus insisted. "You know you're always welcome. Adrian can take the couch." "I'll take the couch," I said quickly. "Ethan should get the guest room." That night, I lay awake on the couch, my lips still tingling, my heart full of equal parts joy and terror. Upstairs, I knew Ethan was awake too. I could feel it the way I could feel the entire shift in my universe. I had spent my life playing it safe. Now I was falling, and I didn't want to stop. The next few weeks were a careful dance of stolen looks and secret touches. We couldn't keep our hands off each other, but we also couldn't tell Marcus yet. Felt too new, too fragile. Saturday mornings became ours. Ethan would arrive early with coffee and pastries while Marcus slept in. We took quiet walks, our fingers brushing on purpose, or sat in the backyard as the sun painted everything gold. I feel like I'm in high school again, Ethan laughed one morning on the porch swing. Sneaking around, stealing kisses. Except in high school I was terrified of even speaking to you, I said, kissing his jaw. This is much better. So much better, he agreed, kissing me with coffee and cinnamon on his lips. But the secrecy began to wear on us. We need to tell him, I said one night curled against Ethan on his couch downtown. We can't live in hiding. I know, he said quietly. I'm just afraid of losing him, of losing all of this. He loves you, I said firmly, and he loves me. He'll come around. What if he makes you choose? Then I choose you, I said without hesitation. We planned to tell Marcus the following weekend, but fate decided otherwise. On Thursday night, Marcus walked into a Capitol Hill bar and caught us kissing. Time slowed. His face moved from confusion to understanding to heartbreak before he turned and walked out. We found him in the rain-soaked parking lot. How long? He asked tightly. About a month, Ethan said. You're my best friend. And you're my brother, Marcus said. I love him, Ethan said, taking my hand. This is real. Marcus searched our faces as rain poured around us. Finally, he exhaled. I'm not mad that you're together. I'm mad you hid it. But I want you both happy. Telling my parents came next. Mom cried happy tears. Dad clapped Ethan on the shoulder. Treat him right. I always will, Ethan promised. And he did. The months that followed felt like freedom. Real dates, open affection, no more hiding. He left notes in my sketchbook. Remembered my coffee order. Planned quiet surprises. You're setting impossible standards, I told him once at Cary Park. Good, he said softly. This is your forever relationship. I believed him. Then October came. I was offered a 6-month contract in Portland. My dream opportunity. You have to take it, he said immediately, even though fear flashed in his eyes. But it's 4 hours away, I whispered. What about us? 6 months isn't forever, he said, gripping my hands. We can survive this. I told you you're it for me. And if the distance breaks us, there are no what-ifs, he said firmly. 6 months, 6 years, 60. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. You take this chance, you build your career, and I'll be right here cheering you on. And when you come back, or if you decide you want to stay in Portland, we'll figure it out together. You'd move to Portland? I asked, stunned. I'd move anywhere for you, he said simply, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I stared at him. This incredible man who had somehow become my entire world, and felt something shift inside me. This time it wasn't fear. It was clarity. No, I said, and his brow tightened in concern. No, you're taking the job. And no, you don't have to move for me. Because I'm coming back. I laced my fingers through his. 6 months. Then I'm coming home to Seattle to you, and we're going to build our life here. Together. Relief washed over his face. You're sure? I don't want you giving up opportunities for me. I'm not giving up anything, I said softly. I'm choosing what matters most. I pulled him close, resting my forehead against his. 6 months will fly by. We'll video chat every night. I'll come home some weekends. You'll visit Portland. It'll be an adventure. An adventure? He repeated, smiling. I like the sound of that. The 6 months in Portland were somehow the longest and shortest of my life. The work was everything I had hoped for. Challenging, creative, and rewarding. My designs made it into the final game, and I built connections with people who promised future collaborations. But every night, I fell asleep missing Ethan, missing his laugh, his touch, the way he looked at me like I was something precious. We video chatted every evening without fail, sometimes for hours, sometimes just long enough to say goodnight. He sent me care packages with my favorite snacks, hoodies that smelled like his cologne, and terrible little sketches he'd drawn just for me. They made me cry more than once. When I came home for Thanksgiving, the moment I walked through my parents' door, Ethan was there, helping my mom cook, flour on his cheek, joy in his eyes. When he saw me, he crossed the room in 3 long strides and kissed me right there in front of everyone. "Okay, seriously, you two need to tone it down," Marcus complained, grinning. "Some of us are trying to eat turkey." "Leave them alone," Mom said, wiping her eyes. "It's beautiful." At Christmas, Ethan took me to the Space Needle at night, glowing with thousands of lights. We stood at the top, looking out over our city, when he pulled a small box from his pocket. "It's not what you think," he said quickly. "Not yet. I want to do that when you're back for good. But this is a promise." Inside was a simple silver band. "A promise that I'm waiting for you," he said softly, sliding it onto my right hand. "That what we have is real. And that when you come home in March, I'll spend every day showing you how much you mean to me." I kissed him with the lights of Seattle shining around us. And for the first time in my life, everything felt perfectly aligned. March came faster than I expected. My last day in Portland was bittersweet. I had grown to love the city and the team, but my heart was already 4 hours north. Ethan wanted to come help me move, but I told him I had a surprise planned. I arrived in Seattle late Friday afternoon and drove straight to his apartment. My heart pounded as I rode the elevator to the 3rd floor. When he opened the door, the look on his face made every lonely night worth it. "Adrian," he whispered, "you're not supposed to be back until tomorrow." I dropped my bag and kissed him, pouring 6 months of longing into that single moment. His arms wrapped around me so tightly I could barely breathe, and I didn't want to. "Surprise," I murmured. "I couldn't wait another day." "I missed you," he breathed. "So much." "Show me," I said softly, and he pulled me inside. Later, as evenings settled around us, we lay together in quiet happiness, the Seattle skyline glowing through his window. "Move in with me," he said suddenly. I lifted my head. "What?" "Move in with me," he repeated. "You were going to look for a place anyway. Let's stop waiting. Let's start our life together." "That's a big step," I said carefully. "I've never been more sure of anything," he said, cupping my face. "I love you, Adrian. I want to wake up next to you, come home to you, build a life with you. Even if this apartment is small and Marcus makes fun of us for being ridiculously domestic, I want all of it with you." Tears filled my eyes. "You really planned where my art supplies would go?" He laughed. "Adrian, I've been planning our life together for years." "Yes," I whispered. "Yes to all of it." Moving in together was chaotic and perfect. My art took over the spare bedroom. We argued about decor. We learned each other's habits. It wasn't always easy, but it was real. Sunday dinners with Marcus became tradition. Watching my brother and the man I loved laugh together made my heart feel full in a way I couldn't explain. 3 months later, one evening in June, I came home to find candles everywhere and Ethan waiting nervously in the living room. "Adrian Chun," he said, dropping to one knee. "When you walked into my life, everything changed. You made me brave. You made me better. And I don't want to spend another day not being engaged to you." He opened the box, revealing a simple platinum band. "Will you marry me?" I pulled him up and kissed him through tears. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." We married the following spring at the Seattle Japanese Garden, cherry blossoms drifting through the air as we exchanged vows. "I promise to always see you," Ethan said, "to support your dreams, to be your home. I promise to choose you every day," I said through tears, "to build a life full of art, laughter, and love." As he kissed me beneath falling petals, I knew coming home had been the best decision of my life. Years later, when Ethan burst into my studio with news of another gallery showcase, I smiled at the life we had built. A small house, a garden we barely knew how to manage, Sunday dinners, chosen family, a love that had only grown deeper with time. "Remember when you thought loving me was a terrible idea?" he teased. "I thought it was complicated." I smiled. I was right about that, but it was also the best thing that ever happened to me. "Same," he said softly, "and thank God for that, because loving Ethan Rodriguez turned out to be the smartest, bravest, most beautiful thing I ever chose to do."